Welcome to the Deep Dive. We are so excited to dive into a topic that you, our listeners, have been requesting for a while now. You've mentioned this fascination you have with, the hidden histories behind some of the more mysterious books in history. You called it the occult archives framing.
Yes, exactly.
And we love that idea. So for this dive, we're going to explore a book that promises just that. Glimpses into the Esoteric History of Freemasonry by C.W. Leadbeater.
That's right. C.W. Leadbeater, prolific theosophical writer, a very influential figure in esoteric circles. This book is it's quite a journey, I have to say, full of intriguing ideas and connections. But for our listeners, think of this deep dive as a shortcut, a way to get to the heart of Leadbeater's rather unique perspective.
Right.
Our mission today is to explore how he saw Freemasonry's origins, stretching back into the mists of time, its connections to ancient mystery traditions, and the different ways of understanding Masonic practice. And who knows, it might just open up some unexpected avenues for you to consider within the realm of esoteric ideas.
Absolutely. Now, Leadbeater wasn't just interested in dates and names, was he?
No, not at all.
What was his main reason for writing this book, as he explains it in the introduction?
Right, so Leadbeater states in his introduction that he wanted to shed light on what he felt were dark spots in Masonic history to bridge some of the obvious gaps in our conventional understanding.
Hmm.
His hope was that by revealing a deeper significance to, the rituals and the work of Freemasonry, he could inspire Masons to engage with it on a more profound level, to draw on their full potential,
Yeah,
both physically and spiritually.
I see. So less of a textbook and more of like an inspirational guide seen through a particular esoteric lens.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Now, he mentions these different schools of Masonic thought, and the first one he discusses the occult school, right?
Yeah.
That's the core idea there.
Well, what I find particularly interesting is Leadbeater's observation that there was this growing trend within Freemasonry, especially in co-masonry, which, as you know, admits women, and increasingly in the more traditional masculine masonry.
Right.
And he labels this as the occult school.
Okay.
And its central belief revolves around the idea that Masonic ceremonies, when performed with the right, intention and understanding, have a real sacramental efficacy.
Sacramental efficacy. That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Can you break that down a bit for us?
Sure, sure. So when Leadbeater uses this term, occult school, he's drawing on his definition of occultism as the study and understanding of the hidden aspects of nature, the forces, the energies that aren't immediately obvious.
Okay.
He suggests that we all possess inherent powers to perceive these hidden dimensions, although for most people they remain dormant.
Mm.
The occult school believes that through disciplined practice and meditation, key elements of occult study, these inner powers can be awakened and utilized.
So it's about looking inward to understand the outward rituals, the outward work.
Exactly. That's a crucial distinction he makes. Leadbeater contrasts this inward occult approach with a more outward-focused one that's focused on service to others and self-sacrifice.
Okay.
And he suggests that which path resonates most deeply with an individual is often a matter of their temperament, something he refers to as one's ray.
Right.
Yeah. One person might be drawn to, active engagement in the world. Another might find more resonance in inner contemplation and love. But ultimately, he believes both paths lead to, a connection with the divine.
Okay. That helps clarify this idea of the occult school a bit.
Mhm.
Now, Leadbeater also talks about something called the occult records.
Right.
Sounds almost like a supernatural archive of sorts.
It is, in a way. Leadbeater posits the existence of these occult records, sometimes referred to as the akashic records in other esoteric traditions. Think of it as a universal record of all events, thoughts, and emotions throughout time, believed to be accessible through heightened consciousness. So in a simplified way, imagine a record of everything that's ever happened, thought, or felt. Leadbeater believed that these records could be accessed through a higher order of consciousness, similar to, mystical experiences.
Mm.
He's careful to note that while physical evidence, can't definitively prove these experiences, historical research can sometimes align with what a trained occult investigator might find in these records.
So how does one actually read these records? According to Leadbeater, it sounds less like opening a book and more like, tuning into a specific frequency or something like that.
He describes it quite vividly. He says that on the mental plane, these records initially appear as a kind of backdrop, much like reflections in a pure glass.
Yeah.
But when a trained investigator focuses their mind on a particular scene or a particular event, and remember, This is the mental plane, the realm of thought, so merely thinking of something brings it instantly into focus.
So he uses an example, right?
Hmm.
Something to do with Julius Caesar landing in Britain.
Exactly, exactly. Leadbeater illustrates this by saying that if someone directs their will to see the record of, say, Julius Caesar landing in England, they would instantly find themselves present on the shore, observing the entire event exactly as it unfolded.
Okay.
Back in 55 BC.
So like a mental time viewer.
It's a fascinating idea, right? He emphasizes, though, that because what's being observed is essentially a reflection of the past,
Yeah.
the historical figures, they remain completely unaware of the observer, sort of like watching a film. And no amount of observation can alter what has already happened.
Right, right.
However, the investigator can control the pace at which they experience the event. They can speed it up, they can slow it down, they can even pause a particular moment indefinitely.
That's amazing. But he mentions more than just see what happened, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Leadbeater states that a trained investigator can perceive far more than a physical observer at the time would have been able to.
Okay.
They can hear and understand all conversations and even gain insight into the thoughts and motivations of the people involved.
Wow.
He suggests this opens up, incredible possibilities for understanding the mindset of people from long-lost eras, from prehistoric cave dwellers to the great civilizations of Atlantis, Egypt, Chaldea. Imagine being able to directly tap into the consciousness that shaped those ancient worlds.
That certainly expands the scope of historical research.
Yeah.
And it's not just limited to human history, is it?
Not at all. Leadbeater suggests that these occult records hold the entire history of our planet. One could observe extinct plants and animals, witness dramatic geological transformations, and even track, the major cataclysms that have repeatedly reshaped the Earth.
Wow.
He also points out a particularly unique possibility, the ability to experience past lives by aligning one's consciousness with a former personality within these records.
So from personal past lives to planetary upheavals, all within this mental archive. That's quite a concept. Now, shifting gears a little bit, Leadbeater discusses the leadership behind Freemasonry, this HOATF.
Right, the HOATF, which stands for the Great Architect of the Universe. It's presented by Leadbeater as the guiding intelligence behind Freemasonry. He describes this force as governing the order with perfect fairness and exceptional skill, always working towards the greatest good of all.
Okay.
And he stresses that the powers that underpin Freemasonry are great and holy, and they're bestowed based on an individual's worthiness and reverence.
So it's not just about the rituals themselves, but a connection to this higher guiding principle.
Precisely. Leadbeater suggests that the HOATF constantly observes the efforts of Freemasons
Right.
and bestows power accordingly. He contrasts those focused on superficial displays and personal ego with those genuinely dedicated to what he calls the hidden work.
A hidden work.
The implication being that sincere spiritual aspiration draws a greater influx of divine energy.
That ties in nicely to this theme of inner merit that we've been discussing. Now, a topic that often comes up with traditions like Freemasonry is this idea of what's considered orthodox or even heretical. How does Leadbeater view this within the context of Masonic ritual?
Leadbeater offers a rather broad perspective on this. He argues that within Masonic ritual, it's not simply a matter of one correct way versus deviations or heresies. Instead, he proposes that there are multiple valid lines of tradition in terms of form, each corresponding to different streams of inner power.
Yep.
He points out that the ancient mysteries across various cultures had their own unique rituals and legends, and these variations have contributed to, the diverse Masonic workings that we see today.
He provides a specific example, doesn't he? Something about the arrangement of officers in different Masonic systems.
Yeah, he mentions the placement of the principal officers in a craft lodge.
Right.
He notes that English Masonry follows an older Egyptian arrangement. While Continental Masonry adheres to a Chaldean plan, positioning them in an isosceles triangle.
Okay.
But the key point is that Leadbeater sees these differences not as errors or deviations, but as reflections of, equally legitimate historical and spiritual lineages.
That's a very accommodating view, I have to say. Now, let's delve into some of the historical connections Leadbeater makes, starting with ancient Egypt.
Right.
He seems to believe there's a very profound link there.
Indeed. Drawing on his earlier work, The Hidden Life in Freemasonry,
Hmm.
Leadbeater revisits his understanding of Freemasonry in Egypt, dating back approximately 6,000 years.
Okay.
And he links this form to the teachings of a world teacher who appeared in Egypt around 40,000 BC, introducing the concept of the hidden light.
40,000 BC. That's going back quite a bit.
It is. And he then briefly outlines the timeline from that period up to around 13,500 BC, which he explored in greater detail in his previous book.
So he's talking about a history that stretches far beyond what mainstream historians typically consider.
Absolutely. He contrasts this inner history with what he terms the authentic history, as established by modern scholars, which he places as starting with the First Dynasty around 5000 BC and the Fourth Dynasty pyramids around the fourth millennium BC.
Right.
But for Leadbeater, the inner history extends much further back to the era of the divine kings of Atlantis.
Atlantis, that certainly shifts the perspective. What were some of the fundamental teachings of this ancient Egyptian Freemasonry, according to him?
Well, the central teaching, introduced by the world teacher, was the universality of light, which Leadbeater equates with the divine presence within every individual. The core message was, I am that light, and he emphasizes the identification of Osiris with this light. He says, Osiris is light, he came forth from the light, he dwells in the light, he is the light.
Okay.
The path to realizing this inner light, he suggests, lies in looking inward, going beyond mere ritual to connect with the ultimate reality.
I see. And how do the well-known Egyptian deities like, Osiris, Isis, and Horus fit into this framework?
Leadbeater presents them as aspects of the divine emanating from this light. Osiris embodies God the Father, a powerful planetary spirit symbolized by the sun and golden light.
Okay.
Isis represents the eternal mother, truth, symbolized by the moon, and a blue-silver light.
Okay.
Horus is the divine child, man, representing the rose gold of love and wisdom. He also mentions other deities like Hathor, the goddess of love and beauty, and Ta, the master architect and Holy Spirit. Leadbeater's using the Egyptian pantheon, in a way, as a symbolic language where each deity represents these fundamental cosmic principles and aspects of human consciousness,
Right.
which Freemasonry aims to help individuals understand and integrate.
So they're not just like mythological figures, but symbolic representations of deeper truths.
Exactly.
And he goes further with the four children of Horus, doesn't he?
He does. Leadbeater discusses the four sons or brothers of Horus Hapi, Tuametef, Amset, or Kesta, and Quebhsneuf,
Right.
who represent the guardians of the four cardinal points. And he draws these fascinating parallels between these figures and the Indian Devarajas, Ezekiel's cherubim, and the four beasts of Revelation,
Wow.
noting their symbolic animal forms, the ape, jackal, man, or sometimes a lion and hawk, or sometimes an eagle.
And what do these symbolic forms represent in this context?
According to Leadbeater, they relate to different aspects of human nature and the four classical elements. So the figure with the face of a man, or sometimes a lion,
Okay.
signifies the physical body and the element of earth. The ox or calf represents the emotional or astral body and the element of water. The lion, or sometimes a man, symbolizes the will or mental aspect and the element of air. And the soaring eagle indicates the spiritual side of human nature and the element of fire. And he emphasizes that these four elements and their associated rulers are a recurring motif across many spiritual traditions.
He even connects them to the concept of karma, doesn't he?
He does. Leadbeater describes these four great angel rulers of the elements as scribes, the recorders, the agents of the Lipika,
Wow.
who observe all that transpires and administer the law of cause and effect, karma. He sees them as overseers who safeguard this process of building the sacred temple.
Now, this understanding of the four elemental rulers directly ties into the consecration ceremony of a lodge, if I'm remembering correctly.
You are absolutely right. Leadbeater explains that these beings representing the fundamental creative forces of the universe are invoked during the consecration of every lodge. And he describes the traditional offerings of corn, wine, oil, and salt as symbols that were chosen, long ago by these elemental rulers to represent their specific powers. He believes that when this ritual is performed by a properly authorized inner master, it has these profound effects on the inner planes. It's a call, essentially, to these planetary spirits to acknowledge and dedicate this new lodge.
And he vividly describes the symbolic descent of angels associated with each element during this ceremony.
Yes, he paints a picture of a golden angel of earth descending with the corn in the north, a blue angel of water with the wine in the south, a crimson angel of fire with the oil in the west, and a silver angel of air with the salt in the east.
Mm.
These four great ones then solemnly consecrate the lodge, uh, creating this strong inner unity among the brethren and establishing a link with angels who will act as representatives at future meetings.
Right.
He even connects this tradition back to the medieval operative craftsmen and the four-crown martyrs.
And there's that rather specific anecdote about the importance of using wheat, not maize, for the corn offering.
Yes. Leadbeater recounts an instance where the use of maize actually led to the appearance of inappropriate nature spirits, necessitating a repetition of that part of the consecration with the correct substance, wheat. It's a surprising detail that highlights, his belief in the tangible, energetic consequences of these rituals.
Okay. Moving on to the structure of the mysteries themselves, Leadbeater outlines a division into lesser and greater degrees. How do these relate to modern Masonic degrees?
He suggests that the lesser mysteries of Egypt find their counterpart in the first degree of craft masonry, while the greater mysteries are akin to the second and third degrees. Beyond these, he mentions a ceremony corresponding to the inner master degree, safeguarding the lineage of authority, and even higher spiritual powers indicated in the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite.
Okay.
But he emphasizes that underlying this entire system is the White Lodge, which confers 5 great initiations leading to spiritual perfection.
He even includes a rather dramatic account of initiation from Apuleius the Golden Ass.
He does. Leadbeater includes this vivid, though somewhat allegorical, description of initiation, highlighting the secret nature of the central experience, the symbolic journey through the elements, and the initiate's public reappearance adorned with sacred symbols.
Right.
While he cautions against taking, every detail literally, he affirms that rigorous tests of inner strength were indeed a part of the inner mysteries.
But not everyone progressing through the standard lesser and greater mysteries underwent such severe trials, right?
Correct. Leadbeater clarifies that the ordinary progression through these degrees primarily involved, intensive study and instruction. Such severe trials were reserved for those specifically seeking positive occult training and, a deeper engagement with the astral and higher planes.
I see. Now, let's touch on this concept of a mystery language that Leadbeater describes. It sounds like something straight out of a fictional secret society.
It does, a bit, doesn't it? He explains that as part of the first degree education, initiates were taught the 7 liberal arts and sciences, and grammar encompassed both the sacred hieroglyphic writing and a secret language used by the priesthood.
Right.
And this secret language wasn't about using entirely different words, but rather assigning specific hidden meanings to familiar ones.
Wow.
He suggests that the discrepancies in modern translations of Egyptian texts might arise from this duality of meaning, exoteric interpretation for the general public and an esoteric one for those initiated into the mysteries. So these 7 liberal arts and sciences were a classical set of subjects considered essential for a free person to study, including grammar, rhetoric, logic, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he draws a parallel between this and the Masonic tradition of a universal language known only to the brethren.
He does. He proposes that this Masonic tradition might be an echo of this ancient secret tongue, which he says was also used in inscriptions, hieroglyphic paintings, and papyri.
Okay.
He suggests that even seemingly straightforward accounts of Pharaoh's victories, for example, could be read on a deeper spiritual level by those who understood the hidden meanings. He uses the Book of the Dead as an example, noting how it can appear obscure in modern translations, but was full of inner illumination within the context of the mysteries.
So even everyday language could hold concealed wisdom for the initiated.
That's right.
Now, Leadbeater mentions this duality within each degree. What does he mean by that?
He reiterates that alongside the more public, lesser and greater mysteries, there were also these inner mysteries. He describes the tests for candidates seeking these inner levels, which involved a preliminary purification bath and being clothed in white. And these tests included demonstrating clairvoyance by reading an inscription on a blank shield.
A blank shield.
Yeah, undergoing a solitary vigil with specific chance to gain control over certain astral entities and confronting terrifying or alluring apparitions to assess their courage and self-mastery.
These sound like very personal and intense ordeals. What was the ultimate goal of this kind of training?
The purpose, according to Leadbeater, was to thoroughly familiarize these candidates with the astral world and to empower them to interact with its forces consciously and effectively.
I see. Now, as we move into the greater mysteries, Leadbeater discusses the mysteries of Serapis and then the mysteries of Osiris.
Right.
How do these relate to the second and third Masonic degrees?
He draws a close parallel between the mysteries of Serapis and our fellow craft degree, both considered part of the greater mysteries.
Okay.
Now, while Apuleius provides limited details about Serapis, Leadbeater indicates that the instruction at this level delved deeper into science and philosophy, offering a more advanced intellectual training, a research into the more hidden paths of nature and science.
The more hidden paths of nature and science.
Okay. And the study of the afterlife also expanded to include the heaven world, seen as the destination for rewards after earthly life.
Okay.
Much of this knowledge of the mental plane was conveyed through symbolic representation and dramatic enactment, similar to how astrolife was taught in the first degree.
Okay.
The primary aim of the Serapis Mysteries was the development of mental control and the training of the mental body, with ceremonial powers invoked to accelerate mental development. This stage, like the first, also typically involved around 7 years of study before one could be considered for the mysteries of Osiris, the third degree.
And the mysteries of Osiris, corresponding to the Master Mason degree, seem to hold a particularly central significance.
They do indeed. Leadbeater quotes Apuleius describing Osiris as the more powerful god of the great gods. He notes that the Egyptian ritual surrounding Osiris was far more extensive than the traditional history preserved in modern Masonry. It involved a symbolic reenactment of Osiris's suffering, death, resurrection, his journey through the afterlife, Amenta,
Right.
and his role as the judge of the dead, determining the fate of souls and their need for further earthly incarnations. This legend of Osiris's death and resurrection was widely known in Egypt, with significant public ceremonies that bore resemblance to Christian Good Friday and Easter observances.
And he summarizes this well-known legend of Osiris from Plutarch with Typhon's betrayal, the dismemberment, and Aesop's devoted search. How does Leadbeater interpret the deeper meaning of this myth?
He connects the story of the seed, to the ordinary human experience, while the story of the son represents the individual achieving divinity or becoming osirified. Similar to the Christian concept of becoming one with Christ, he emphasizes the voluntary nature of this divine sacrifice, highlighting that the path to divinity lies in unselfishness and self-sacrifice for the benefit of others, which is, of course, the core message embodied in both the stories of Christ and Osiris.
Now, Leadbeater mentions further degrees and teachings beyond these initial 3 levels in the Egyptian mysteries.
Yes.
What did these entail?
He describes a significant period of instruction and meditation following the Osiris mysteries, leading to the realization of the divine name and direct contact with what he calls the hidden light. This marked the beginning of a second great quest involving the study and partial experience of various divine attributes, culminating in the illumination of the 18th degree, the sovereign prince of the Rose Croix of Herodom. At this stage, the initiate experiences divine love within their own being and among their fellow initiates, gaining an understanding of God's descent into human form to facilitate our ascent to the divine.
This sounds like a gradual unfolding of spiritual understanding.
It is.
What happens after that level?
Leadbeater explains that at the Rose Croix level, the intuition, which he equates with Budi, or the Christ within, is significantly awakened This empowers the initiate to work on their emotional nature, increasing their capacity for divine love, and allowing them to become, as he puts it, a veritable priest,
Mhm.
capable of channeling this love to benefit the world. Higher degrees within this lineage enabled the transmission of this expanded consciousness, a power typically reserved in modern sovereign chapters to the most wise sovereign and past presiding officers.
He also touches upon Black Masonry within the Egyptian
Yes.
mysteries, which sounds quite mysterious.
It does a bit, doesn't it? This corresponds to the degrees from the 19th to the 30th. Leadbeater explains that this section focused on the workings of karma in its various manifestations, studied as a law of cause and effect.
Mm.
He suggests that the darker elements found in the Night Age degree reflect this perspective. And he clarifies that the understanding of karma is linked to overcoming ignorance about the true nature of the divine, and that the S of the 30th degree encapsulate the core philosophy related to this. And he notes that a valid conferral of this degree required the communication of these S's.
And this exploration of karma ultimately leads to an understanding of divine justice, doesn't it?
Precisely. The ancient instruction emphasized the principle of reaping what one sows,
Yep.
including the study of national and racial karma through inner perception. This ultimately led to the understanding of karma as divine justice, a concept preserved in the 31st degree, the Grand Inspector Inquisitor Commander, symbolized by the scales of perfect balance.
Right.
The apparent suffering associated with karma, he suggests, is due to a limited perspective.
Yeah.
And with greater understanding, it is seen as perfect justice in action.
Okay. He then draws a significant connection between these Egyptian initiations and the life of Jesus Christ.
Yes. Leadbeater states that there have always been 5 great initiations, which Christian teachings illustrate through key stages in Christ's life, as depicted in the Gospels. He posits that the Gospels themselves contain elements derived from the Egyptian mysteries, noting that Jesus, as initiator of the Egyptian lodge, influenced the adoption of Egyptian symbolism by his followers. He refers to his book, The Masters in the Path, for a description of modern Great White Brotherhood initiation ceremonies.
Okay.
And suggests that while Egyptian rituals differed in form due to the Atlantean tradition,
Right.
their underlying essence was the same.
And he details the fifth great initiation,
Yeah.
which sounds quite profound.
It is. He describes the candidate lying on a hollow wooden cross, entering a deep trance, and projecting their consciousness onto the astral plane. The physical body was then placed in a sarcophagus for 3 days and nights. The resurrection occurred on the 4th day, with the rising sun at the Great Pyramid, symbolizing an ascent to the atmic or nirvanic plane of absolute union with the divine. The initiate then became the right hand of him from whom he came, dedicated to serving God and humanity, guiding both the living and the departed towards the hidden light.
Wow.
He emphasizes that any power gained is held in trust for the benefit of others.
That's a powerful image of spiritual transformation.
Yeah.
Now, Leadbeater then shifts his attention to ancient Crete and the Minoan civilization.
Right.
Why does he bring this into the discussion?
Leadbeater introduces the Minoan civilization, which flourished in Crete, predating 10,000 BC.
Wow.
Highlighting its rediscovery since 1900 by Sir Arthur Evans, he emphasizes its comparable age and splendor to ancient Egypt. And he points out a particularly interesting fact for those interested in esoteric traditions, the existence of a mystery religion at least 5,000 years ago, with symbols and arrangements remarkably similar to modern Masonic ritual.
Especially regarding the admission of women, which he notes was common in ancient mysteries.
Yes, he highlights the co-Masonic interest in this aspect, as the admission of women was prevalent in almost all ancient mysteries.